thank you, Ian. We just want to say a big thank you to Trek and Travel for hosting our gear and training sessions today, and for the great discount that you guys are going to get on your gear. So thank you, Ian. My name's Lisa Marshall. I'm an adventure fitness coach with Wild Women on Top, and I'm also the event director for Coastrek. So I'm hoping that between those two things and having done a few 100k events, I'll be able to answer most of your questions today. Congratulations on registering for Coastrek. The event's now closed, it's full, and we've got a waiting list of over 40 teams. So you guys are very, very lucky to have that spot, and we're very grateful to have you here today. It's all about taking on a goal that's going to inspire you to get fit and to keep training over the silly season. So the reason we first created Coastrek was we wanted to have a charity challenge for our clients, for Wild Women on Top, and we wanted to connect that in some way to keep our clients training over the Christmas season. So it really does work if you've got a goal that you know you're going for, which is in the early part of the year. And what I would say to you is get your training booked in now. Don't fall off the wagon over Christmas. You can take a couple of weeks off, but just know that if you build up a really good base of fitness now on your way towards the Christmas time, you just got to pick up on that in the middle of January and keep going with that. And before you know it, we'll have the 1st of March, which is event day. So 16 weeks away. I'm not saying that to frighten you. I'm saying it so you know you've got that amount of time to get ready, to train, and to enjoy the whole process of being in that team and having that goal together. But you do need to get your diary out and work with your team to start getting your dates scheduled in, because we know it's a busy time of year, especially if you've got kids. Or you're working, you've got a lot to fit in, and in amongst the training I'm going to talk to you about how to train smarter, not harder. We're all time poor, but you are going to have to dedicate some time to training and getting ready for the event, and your enjoyment of Coastrek is all going to be determined by how much you put into your preparation and your training. So I hope that today I'm going to take you through some of the what I call the 6 F's. It's all about fun, fitness, fluid, your hydration, your food, your feet, and of course Fred. Because the reason that we're doing 50 or 100 Ks is to raise money for the Fred Hollows Foundation and restore sight to many people around the world who are needlessly blind. So thank you for taking on that challenge. And I'm just going to give you today what are some of my top 10 tips, or the things that I've learned from doing 100k trail events. And I will answer questions at the end. If you think of anything as we go along, please just jot it down, and we'll do a question and answer session at the end. So one of the things that you're going to work with as you prepare for Coastrek is the psychology of being in a team. Okay, it's not just yourself going out to train and to do the event. There's 4 of you, and 4 of you that you're going to have to care for each other, communicate very well, work out what your goal is, and look after each other as you go along the trail. Very, very important, that communication in your team. Decide what your goal is and discuss it. You can't have one person in the team thinking you're doing the 50k in 7 hours and the rest of you think you're aiming for 15, because you're going to hit a lot of bumps along the way if you do that. My top tip with your training and preparation for the event and your actual event day is to always stick together as a team. Don't split apart. Don't let half the team go ahead and meet you at the checkpoint. You really need to stick together, and that way you got more chance of getting to the finish line as a 4. Because that should be your main goal, is to finish your 50 or 100k as a team of 4. Okay? Yes, you'll have a time goal, but have a little bit of flexibility in there. Go, okay, we think we do about 5k's an hour, plus toilet stops, plus time at the man checkpoints to meet our crew, to change shoes, to strap up feet. So we think it's going to take us 12 to 15 hours. Okay, there you've got a goal and you agree it. Okay, things don't always happen to that goal, but when you're doing your training, you'll pick up what your average pace is. But that should never get in the way of you losing someone in the team. So you guys are going to have times along the trail where 2 of you are feeling great and 2 of you are feeling not so good. You need to, the people that are not feeling not so good at that moment, get them up the front of the group. Okay, put your slowest person at the front of the team, because you're only as fast as your slowest person. And if that person's at the back, it's a really hard place to be for 50 Ks if you're always at the back trying to catch up with the rest of the team. It's a really tough energy. So a trick that we do in our team is the back person comes to the front every 5 or 10 Ks. Does that make sense? You keep moving the person at the back up to the front, and that way everybody gets a turn to lead, everybody gets a turn at the back and in the middle, and you kind of mix up the dynamic and keep everybody moving. Okay? And if you're feeling unwell, let your team know. If someone goes really, really quiet, it usually means there's something wrong, especially if you're a woman, because most of us can talk for 50 or 100 Ks, and if someone in the team goes really quiet and you haven't heard from them for hours, you're going to know there's actually something wrong, and you need to ask them, are you okay? Do we need to stop? Is it food, fluid, feet? You know, what is it that's not right? And help them, and then you'll be able to take off again. It's worth it spending 5 minutes working out what that person might need, especially if they're dehydrated or they haven't eaten for a few hours. So all those little things, you're looking after yourself, but you also need to be aware of what's happening with your teammates as you go along the way. It's a great team building exercise. What else? Gear for training. As you can see, I'm dressed as if I would go off and do my Coastrek training session. Gear is a very personal thing, the same as food. You're going to have to test it out during training, and don't try anything new on event day. So don't buy new shoes the day before Coastrek and wear them. You've got to wear everything you're going to wear on event day. Practice your shoes, your socks, your shorts. So wicking material is really good, the dry fit stuff. Don't wear cotton. When you sweat or it gets wet, it just sticks to you and it rubs and it chafes, okay? So dry fitting, nice, lightweight. You could be in the sun if you're doing the 50K day, or the 100K. You could be walking into the second day with the sun. So protection, you might want to wear a bandana or a collared shirt, cap, sunnies, sun cream. Some people like to wear vests, but again, be aware when you start at Palm Beach, you're going to have the sun on one side of you for hours. We have had people get really bad sunburn on one side. So you will also, most of you probably wear a Camelbak of sorts, and if you're wearing a vest, you can get chafing along there. So find a shirt that's comfy for you, and that's a dry fit wicking material. Leggings, lots of people choose to wear the compression gear, your skins, your 2XU. These are compression, but they're shorts, and I wear the shorts with the calf guards because I like the compression on the calves. It's good for recovery, and it feels really good when you're doing long distance, especially if you do a bit of the running. But again, it's a personal preference, and you guys work out what feels right for you. Another thing to consider is your underwear, very important. Don't wear cotton underwear because it gets wet and it chafes, okay? So you try out different ones, look at Icebreaker, some of the quick dry stuff, and also again with a sports bra, really good sports bra that's not going to chafe you when you're wearing your Camelbak. And all those things you're going to find out when you're training on the track. So your training on the route is about as much about your gear and your food and your nutrition as it is about improving your fitness. And if you can get all those things together, you're going to have a really great experience. Okay, so I'll just show you a bit about what I would carry with me on Coastrek for training. This is my Camelbak. It's got a 2-litre Camelbak. You could do 2-litre, 3-litre bladder in it. So research shows that people who drink from a bladder system are less likely to suffer from dehydration, or they drink more often than people who drink from a bottle. If you've got a bottle and you have to keep getting it out, you're less likely to drink because it's a hassle. Every time you want your bottle, you've got to unstrap your Camelbak, take the bottle out, open it, drink, and the rest of your team's still walking. So if you've got one of these systems, you're just going to be able to drink as you go. Sip, sip, sip every now and again. All right, and they're easy to fill. There's lots of stops along the way, along Coastrek, lots of cafes, taps at the life-saving clubs to fill the bladder as you go. Okay. What else? A rain jacket. You just need a lightweight rain jacket. You're going to be training through the summer, so you don't want a thick Gore-Tex heavy waterproof jacket because you're just going to sweat inside that and you're going to be wet anyway. So just a lightweight rain jacket that fits into your pack. Some people don't bother with them. Other people wear the plastic ponchos. Again, it's really a preference, and it's up to you to test out what's going to work for you. On event day, you might check the weather forecast, and you may not even carry that. You might give it to your support crew and you just pick it up along the way if you think the weather's changing. So, you know, it's one of those things that you're not going to use a lot, but this year we had pouring rain for the first 50 Ks of Coastrek. A lot of people wore rain gear. You don't want to get cold either. Believe it or not, you can. So you've got the elements to deal with, and you just need to be prepared. A bandana is really great for keeping cool or sun protection. So what I normally do is I wet it and I wear it around my neck, and it really cools you down just on the back of your neck. If you're someone that suffers from the heat, you can just keep wetting it as you go along. You can buy some little neck coolers that have like a gel liner in, and you put them in the freezer and then you wear them. But I find it's just as good just to wet a bandana, wear it around your head, use it to wipe your face as you go along. First aid, really important, guys, to carry just basic first aid even on your training sessions, okay? So the main things are going to be around your feet, so some blister blocks or compedes, which are special blister plasters. They're quite thick. I'll show you a couple now. I think they're in the other little pocket. They're quite a thick plaster that are padded, and they're designed to go, you can come and have a look after, but they're sort of like a gel padding. And then what I normally do is if I'm getting a hot spot, I'll stick one of those on and then tape over it as well so that it doesn't roll up in your shoe. The other thing I do is I cover my feet in Vaseline or pawpaw ointment and then pull my socks on. Kind of waterproofs your feet, and it prevents chafing. Okay, the only thing you need to remember then is if you need to put a plaster on, you're going to have to use an alcoholic wipe to get the grease off. Otherwise your taping is not going to tape over. So if you do tape your feet, do your taping first and then put your pawpaw ointment in the other bits of your feet. And especially I find on the back of the Achilles here, you can get a lot of chafing from your socks as you go. So put a lot of pawpaw ointment and Vaseline there. Emergency blanket, that's in case you get stuck somewhere or someone gets injured and they get cold or go into shock. Very good. They cost like $5 and they're very light to carry. That's just an example of tape you can put on your feet. And a stretchy bandage. So one of the most common injuries on trails is sprained ankles. And it might not sound like much, but it's really hard if you've got to get yourself out and back to somewhere that you can get a lift. The good thing about Coastrek is you're pretty close to an urban place on most of the tracks that you can get out and get somewhere. But if you've got one of these guys, you can strap up someone's ankle, and if you've got your walking poles, even better, they'll be able to get themselves out and get a lift if you have any ankle issues. Here's the magic pawpaw ointment. Okay, you guys are going to need to use some kind of anti-chafe between your bum cheeks. Okay, I'm not joking. You sweat and you chafe, and it's very uncomfortable. And for the guys, on your nipples, because it rubs. You get, especially if you're wearing a pack and then you're sweating and you've got a shirt on, and it rubs and it's really sore. So use that pawpaw ointment. Head torch. You've probably not thought of that if you're doing the 50K day. However, if the average time for the 50K day was 12 to 13 hours, you're going to start in the dark at Palm Beach, most likely. It's pretty dark at 5 a.m. in the morning when you come for registration. And you could be finishing in the dark. So please make sure you carry a head torch with you. You never know when you're out training as well. If you're training in the late afternoon and the sun goes down, it's always a good thing to have. Put new batteries in on event day. It's amazing how much brighter the torch will be with new batteries. And they're fairly lightweight. You just wear them on your head. Easy to use. And the better your batteries. And if you're someone that's hard of sight, they've got really good torches now that you can check out. You can even also have a hand torch if you want to. On the second part of Coastrek, you've got a really dark section along the Hermitage Trail from Rose Bay to Watson's Bay. That's probably the darkest section on the second half, the second 50K. But after that, it's quite urban. You're on the coastal track along Vaucluse and then Bondi, Coogee. There's still dark sections, so you will need a good head torch. Okay, we'll talk about fluid in a minute, but just in terms of electrolytes, these guys I love. These are just a hydrolyte lolly that you can actually freeze. And what I do is I freeze them and then stick them in my pack next to my Camelbak. Keeps the water cold, and when you're training and it's a really hot summer's day and you whip out one of these guys, it's great. And it's pre-mixed in the right dosage, so you don't need to worry about it. You can also buy lots of different electrolytes that you can mix up. But if you have these sachets, you're going to have to carry a bottle too, so you can mix it up. Okay. And the important thing about electrolytes is you've got to take them as they're stated in the stated dose. So you can't chuck one of these in your 2-litre Camelbak. It's no good, because you can't absorb the electrolytes as quickly as you need to. If it says it's meant to be in 25 mils or something, that's how you've got to mix it up and drink it. So carry a little cup or a little bottle, or carry these guys because they're pre-mixed already and you can just down them when you need to. Yeah? You guys don't have any river crossings in Coastrek, but there's a couple of lagoons. These little babies are part of my kit that I carry, so just a normal garbage bag, but it's got handles on. If you get to the lagoon and it's less than knee deep, you're allowed to cross. So if it's knee deep or over, you have to take the alternate route around the back of the lagoons. But I use these because I don't have to take my shoes off then. So here we go. You put one on each foot, and then you just hold them, and you walk through the water. And when you get to the other side, you take it off. You've got nice dry feet. And if you're feeling really kind, you can throw it to the team behind you and you'll make lots of friends along the trail. You never know when you need a garbage bag. I mean, it could start pouring with rain. You can cut a hole in it and put it over your head if you like. But they're really great for keeping your feet dry if you've got any water crossings. Okay, that's mainly what I would carry as I'm training. Obviously food as well. And on the day, you're luckier because you've obviously got a support crew. If you've got people that love you, your support crew is really important, and you can then leave things and get them as you go along. You can meet your support crew along the way and at the manned checkpoints. You can stock up with food and first aid, whatever else you might need. So great idea to have one of those plastic boxes, and each of you have your name on it. So when your support crew unpack at the manned checkpoint, they just put your 4 boxes out. You can see what's in it, and you just run and grab what you need at the next checkpoint, and off you go again for your next section of Coastrek. Let's talk about training. You guys have got 16 weeks to go. How many of you have done Coastrek before? Couple? Yeah, mostly newbies, but that's good. That's why you're here today, is to find out where to start, right? So 16 weeks to go. If I was training for 100 Ks, my normal week is I do a 3-hour trek training session and a 2-hour trek training session. I would then do 1 to 2 sessions of a jog and stair session, where I would aim to go up as many stairs and hills as I could in 45 minutes to an hour. Pilates or stretching. And then every 2 weeks I'd be doing a long distance, so say around 35 kilometers, 25 to 35. If you look on the website under Plan and Train, there's a training guide for the 50K and the 100, and it gives you an idea of what you should be doing each week in the lead up to the event. Again, it's a personal choice. You guys are busy people and you've got other activities that you do, so just choose what you can fit in. And the important thing is to do those longer sessions where you have time on your feet, okay? So I've had marathon runners do 100 Ks with me, and they've flaked after 3 hours because they're only used to being on their legs for 3 hours, and they only take in a certain amount of fluid and food for that time. It's very different to being on your feet for 12 to 15 hours, okay? Can you see the difference between that? So they might be doing quite a lot of kilometers, but they're not doing it on rough trails, on sand, on rocky, rooty paths, you know, and they're not doing it on their legs for that many hours in a row. So the most important thing with your training is to learn about your nutrition and your hydration as well. So those 2 things are going to be the 2 things that are going to determine how you enjoy the event and how you get to the finish line, and the training, the time on your legs over those longer walks. Okay, so build it up slowly. Don't start off with a 25k walk unless you're someone who's already relatively fit. Have a look at the training guide, pick where you think you are, look at the 16 weeks to go, and you'll start to see the kind of pattern of what you should be building into your training regime. And you might not be able to do every session as a team either. You just got to mix and match it. Aim to get minimum 5 together, okay? Because you need to discuss things like your support crew, your fundraising, your plans for the day, your goals, all those kind of things. But I would say minimum 5 sessions with the whole team together if you can. Looking at Coastrek, you guys, the one thing about Coastrek is part of the challenge is the different surfaces that you're going to walk on, okay? I don't know if any of you heard Ben Phillips, who's the blind walker who's going to walk the Coastrek 100k on the radio this week. He said that one of the most interesting things for him is the different surfaces. So you can imagine if you're blind, you can't see any of the beautiful views of Coastrek, but you can feel everything and hear everything. And sand is part of the challenge of Coastrek, okay? If you're going to get the views and the coastal and the beautiful water, you're going to have the sand. So don't see it as a negative thing. Use it in your training. Get used to walking on soft sand. So do it during your training sessions. Don't walk on the path at the back of Longreef or Narrabeen. Do the soft sand, okay? And your preference, you can take your shoes off, walk in the water if you want, and put your shoes back on at the end of the beach, dust all the sand off your feet. Or keep your shoes on. You're probably going to still have to take your shoes off and empty out the sand at the end of the beach. But it's again all about practicing. You're going to figure it out as you go along. And it's great for your body. It's different surfaces. Your body's working really different on a bush trail, to the sand, to the roadways. So you've got lots of different surfaces to deal with. In terms of your training, one of the things you need to remember is that recovery is just as important as all the training you put in. If you're a mum or a busy person working or both, often we don't pay attention to our recovery as well as we should, and that includes sleep and nutrition, okay? So when you've done a really big day of training, it's been really hot, you need to make sure you replace your electrolytes. You eat foods that are rich in potassium, sodium, eat protein-rich foods to repair muscle, okay? And make sure you have a good night's sleep. All of those things are going to come together so that you feel really good for the next training session. Because if you don't recover from the first one, it's going to get harder and harder as you go along. So your recovery is just as important as your training. And doing the little things in between, the stretching, swimming, Pilates, yoga, whatever it might be, just to stretch everything out. Okay, so just look after yourselves, listen to your body. Injury prevention is important, because walking is a repetitive action, as is running, and you need to balance it out with all those other things. Okay. Talking about food, people always say to me, what do you eat on 100 Ks? What do you eat? Food is a very personal experiment in endurance walking and running, and it's still an area that is of great interest to researchers, because everybody's different, okay? And all I'm going to say to you is that you need to look at about 200 to 300 calories an hour, and if you're aiming to run the whole 50 or 100 Ks, you're probably going to be looking at more of a liquid diet. You're going to be using your hammer gels and your sort of protein mixes. You're going to look at more liquid than you are going to be eating food. If you're walking, it's a bit less intense, but what it means is you need to eat small bits regularly. So when we're training as a team, we have one person in the team that goes on every hour, they say, guys, eat, time to eat. Even if it's a piece of orange or, half a sandwich. I love eating cheese and Vegemite sandwiches because it's the salt that you crave. You need the salt and a bit of fat in the cheese, okay? You don't want to eat foods that are too heavy, that have too much fiber, because your gut just can't cope with it while it's dealing with everything else, So eat light foods. I've given you a few suggestions. Google endurance eating, and there's a load of articles online too. Again, you guys just need to work it out as you train. So don't try things on the day that you haven't tried during your training. You need to figure out what works for you and your body, okay? But don't get to that situation where you bonk. Okay, right? Runners call it bonking or hitting the wall. When you leave it too long and your blood sugar dives and you just can't recover, you just, no matter what you do, and then starts the nausea. So then you don't feel like eating because now you're nauseous, and it's very hard to recover. So that 45 minutes to an hour, even if you don't feel like eating, just eat something small, because you're just going to keep your blood sugar that little bit more stable as you go, rather than having to try and recover when you haven't eaten for 4 hours. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Common mistakes with nutrition: not eating often enough or not eating at all. That can be tough. And not drinking enough or drinking too much. Again, hydration is a personal thing, but you guys need to alternate water with electrolytes. Water with electrolytes, yeah? Okay, if you drink too much, you can suffer from something called hypernatremia, where you wash all the tissue salts out of your tissues, and what you find is you often will get cramp. So having a bananas are great, they've got perfect sodium and potassium balance, okay? So that's again important as to why you eat in those regular periods, because you're actually drinking a lot of fluid at the same time, and you don't want to wash out all the salts in your body. So again, you can read a lot about hydration and how important that is. One way to kind of check it is to look at urine color, okay? So if your urine's extremely clear and you're going to the loo a lot, you're probably drinking too much, yeah? But if you're on the other spectrum where you've got tea-colored urine and you're not going very often, you're probably dehydrated, okay? So work with those things, and again, remind each other, guys, are you drinking? Are you drinking? Every, 20 minutes. Everyone have a drink, and do it as a team. You'll find it easier to remember. Looking at your feet, very important. Blister prevention. Again, you're going to work with what kind of socks work for you, what shoes. If I was doing 100 Ks, I'd change my shoes probably 2 or 3 times. So I start off with my trail runners, and for the night section or the really bushy parts, I'd probably wear my boots. And then for the last section of Coastrek, where it's probably more urban surfaces on the coastal trail, I'd wear my runners, because they're a bit softer and they feel like slippers when you've worn the other hard shoes and your feet have been going for a whole day. So try different shoes. Make sure you get the right size. Normally a size or a size and a half bigger than what you would normally wear in everyday shoes, because your feet are going to swell, and when you're going downhill, you don't want your toes hitting the front of the shoes, because you're going to lose your toenails. Okay, so make sure when you're choosing shoes, you get them fitted correctly. And again, look at your socks. There's some great socks that they've got here at Trek and Travel. They're called Injinji, and they're like a glove. So you wear them and they go onto each toe, so it stops friction between your toes, and they're really comfortable. I would have at least 4 pairs of socks if you're doing the 50K, maybe even 6 for the 100K. Every time your feet get wet or you get sand in your shoes, change your socks, okay? And socks are light to carry. You could carry a couple of pairs in your day pack, and then your support crew have a couple for you. But again, try them all out as you're going, as you're training. I probably would wear the same gear for 100K, except for my shoes and my socks. I'd be changing them around. If you're getting hot spots on your feet in a certain place when you're training, it's pretty certain something to do with your shoes. Try a different pair of shoes and see how you go. So if you get a hot spot, stop and deal with it. Don't let it turn into a blister, okay? One of the main reasons people pull out of endurance events is because of blisters, believe it or not, okay? They're tiny little buggers that they can be debilitating once you get them, so don't get to that point. Look after your feet. Someone else made a good point earlier on. Don't go for a pedicure just before the event. Leave all those nice, hard, rough bits on your feet, because they're actually protecting you. Those bits have formed where you could potentially get blisters, and if you get them rubbed off, now they're nice and soft and smooth, and there could possibly be potential blister territory. So don't pedicure the feet just before. Just let them get nice and hard. Okay. I'll open it out to the floor now. I hope that's helped you guys in terms of some of the little things to think about as you're training. We've also put on in January the Coastrek training sessions for you. So our Wild Women on Top coaches will be leading those. You'll have a chance again to ask loads of questions about the route and preparing for event day. There are 5 sessions that cover different sections of Coastrek, and we've got 2 at night. So if you're doing the night event or the 100 and you're a little bit nervous about walking in the dark, come and do it with a group. It's sometimes all you need to kind of give you that confidence boost to go, oh, you know what? It's not actually that hard walking at night. As long as I have a good head torch, you're on your way. The other thing I didn't talk about was walking poles, because I know a lot of people use them. I use them too. So these are very, very good for night walking, for people who have issues with knees and joints. So they reduce the impact on your knees by up to 30%. They also give you an upper body workout. They stop the blood flowing to your hands. So you know how you get sausage fingers when you're walking and all the blood's flowing down to your hands? You don't get that when you've got poles because your hands are upright. Okay? They're great for helping you to get up hills. Okay? And they're great for going downhill because it's like having 4 legs. And I find at night time too, if I'm doing 100k, I might pick these guys up. If I wasn't running 100 and I was walking it, I would grab my poles at night time, because when you're tired, it's just like having another set of legs to help you along your way. But you do need to test them out when you're training. Again, you wouldn't pick these up on the event day and try them. You'd be testing them as you go. A lot of people get what they call pole love. They can't imagine not having their poles after walking with them. So check them out and see what works for you. Yeah? I'll open out to the floor now if there's any questions that anyone's got on their training or gear. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm really curious about footwear. So
yes.
For the 50k walk, could you do it in trainers but then just change the pairs?
Yeah. The question is for the 50k, could you do it in trainers? You could. Trail runners, I've got Solomon trail runners on. Trail runners have a harder toe to protect your toe if you hit rocks. Okay, they also have a lot more grip on the sole compared to a running shoe. Lots of people do Coastrek in running shoes. My only thing with that is if you get to a section like on the Spit to Manly or the Bondi Coogee where there's sand on concrete, yep. Running shoes are actually quite slippery. They don't tend to grip on that kind of surface. However, people do it in running shoes. You can also get a cross between a running shoe and a boot. So if you're someone who likes more ankle protection, if you had an ankle issue and you want the support, especially at night or in the dark, this is a Solomon trail runner, but it's 3/4. Can you see it's kind of between a boot and a trail runner. So, but they got a bit more sort of flexion through them, so you don't get that cramping through the arch of your foot. Any other questions?
What's the support crew rules? Must they be with you or accessible the whole time, or can you just sort of say, okay, we'll see you in 2 hours at the next place?
So the question is, what are the rules about your support crew? Can they be with you all the time, or can they meet you along the way? So what we say is your support crew can meet you anywhere along the route, once in the first 50k, and then they can meet you also at the man checkpoints, and then once in the second 50k if you're doing the 100, and again at the man checkpoints. Okay? So
they don't have to be...
They don't have to be with you at all the time. Some people don't do it without. Some people do it without a support crew. We don't really advise that because you never know what you need on the day. You could need your other pair of trainers. You could need first aid. You could need, I really want a Red Bull and I want it now. Like, come on. And you just don't know what you're going to need on the day. So I recommend having a support crew, but they can meet you at anywhere as long as it's a safe place. You're not on the side of a road, it's somewhere along the route, and they're not transporting you in any way.
With your Camelbak, has that got enough space in it for everything that you carry?
Yeah, the question is, can I fit everything that I've shown you here today into my Camelbak? The answer is yes. On event day, I would go as light as I could, and I would pick up things with my support crew along the way. But when you're training, if you're doing, like we do a 60k training day when we're training for 100k, and we do out and back, and we don't have a support crew, so we have to carry everything. The good thing with Coastrek is you can buy things. If you're training in the day, there's cafes, there's pretty much places you can get water at most of the beaches and the surf life-saving clubs. But you can fit everything in that Camelbak as long as you've got an extra pocket. So some Camelbaks, all there is the space for the bladder, and that's it, whereas this one's got two pockets. So have a look, there's some different models at the back, just near the stairs there, you can check out.
When it's 3 o'clock in the morning, where are we supposed to go to the toilet?
When it's 3 o'clock in the morning, where do you go to the toilet? Depends on where you are. On the event briefing night, we will give you an outline of where the toilets are. In the second half of the Coastrek, so from Balmoral to Coogee, we are having some toilets open at designated places. I think Rose Bay, Bondi Pavilion. Is that right, Danae?
Yeah, so at
Bondi and Watson's Bay.
At the front of the map book there will be a list of the loos that are
so
open.
we'll put a list of the toilets in the map book for you.
I'll wait to get to the toilet.
But if you have to go in the bush, you can, but we obviously ask that you go right in the bush, not next to the trail. If you have to go, you have to go. But there are a lot of toilets during the day. All the life-saving clubs and the beaches have toilets. And we'll have toilets at Balmoral. There will be Portaloos, and there's toilets at Coogee. So, yeah, just check them out as you train.
These questions are from our team member who was here at 1.
Okay.
Can you ask Lisa what she thinks of music or iPods for walking, or somehow sharing music to listen to?
All right. Question about iPods and music. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea because you can't communicate with your team. You're kind of zoning out, and there's no communication, especially at night time. You can't ask each other how you're feeling. You can't tell if so-and-so's fallen off the cliff behind you. I don't think it's a good idea. However, people do it. People do put their iPods in. Maybe if you all agree we're going to do it for half an hour, you can do it. But I personally, in terms of a safety thing and a team engagement, I wouldn't do it.
What sort of hat do you recommend?
What sort of hat? I wear a lightweight cap. But a lot of people do wear the ones with the flaps. They've got a really good range of hats here. The flaps that protect you from the sun, from the back of your neck, because you guys are going to be training in the sun. So, yeah, something lightweight that's not too heavy, that is going to protect you. But it depends on if you're running or walking again and how much time you're going to be out there.
And the last one is, do you carry a mobile phone, or is it a distraction?
I would carry a mobile. We say that in your team on event day you must have 2 mobile phones on different networks. However, I don't check it as I'm going along. It's merely there if I need to contact my support crew or phone for help. Definitely don't recommend, I've seen people on the trails with text messages and Facebook. It's not a good idea. Next thing you have a sprained ankle, it's not worth it. So carry a phone, definitely. Another thing I would say is these little ziplock bags are awesome. So especially if you're going to be training in the rain, okay, put your iPhone, zip it up, even put it in 2 ziplock. Anything that you don't want to get wet, put it in the ziplock bags, or buy some of the waterproof sacks that these guys sell here too. So if you are going to carry your phone, you do need to make sure it's waterproof. Yeah.
This was our day for something paranoid that a girlfriend who did it last March got lost. Their team got lost.
On the event or on the
Well, they just went off into the bush and then followed some other team and then 40 minutes later.
Ah.
So is it, do we have mobile phones so we can use Google Maps, or should?
Certainly, part of the challenge. So the question was, what about if you get lost? So the part of the challenge of Coastrek is learning the route and navigating, and that's why we suggest that you train on the route and you come to the sessions in January, because our coaches will take you on the exact route. So if you've got any questions or you're unsure, on the day there will be unmanned checkpoints along the way, and you guys will get a little device, a little timing stick, and there will be a little machine at each of those checkpoints that you have to plug into to register that you got to that checkpoint. And when you get to the finish, you plug it in and magically it tells us exactly what time you're at every single checkpoint with your finish time, and it also tells us if you skipped checkpoints, okay? So the reason we have checkpoints on Coastrek is to make sure that everybody follows the route, okay? So they're often out on a headland or somewhere where you think, oh, it could be tempting to cut this bit off. And it makes sure you go to the beautiful view spots as well. So in terms of getting lost, use the maps, use your iPhones. You can read the maps on the iPhone too if you need to. There's a version for your iPhone. And use your GPS, whatever you need to use to get there, we don't mind.
Should we be hiring GPS or
The question is, should you hire a GPS or an EPIR, which is a safety beacon? I don't think so. Coastrek, you're never that far away from somewhere. You are on the coast, but you generally can get to help if you need to. And certainly, getting lost during training is all part of learning the route. So it's better to get lost during the training than on the day.
What do you suggest shorts-wise? Loose fitting or?
Shorts. The question is in terms of what shorts would you wear. I wear these because I find there's less chafing because they're not loose and they're not dragging around my legs if you're running. It's really a personal preference, but something lightweight like a runner's short that's got the inbuilt pants, that could be good because they're quite lightweight, and if they get wet they dry. These dry quickly, so do skins or your 2XU or CWX, they dry fairly quickly. You've got to work out the chafing thing and the heat thing. So try a couple of different, don't wear cotton shorts because when they get wet they're just heavy and they hang and they chafe. So try a few different things. If you're running, most runners wear something that's fitting rather than loose to prevent chafing. Anything else?
Please.
The night sessions in January, the 20Ks, do you jog them in a group or just is it a walk?
Walk. Coastrek's about walking. We do have people that run it, but on the Coastrek training sessions, what we do is we split the group up. Anyone who wants to go faster goes with the first coach, and then anyone who wants to go slower goes with the second coach. So we try and cater for the, and normally with the faster group we'll give you guys some extra stairs and hills to make sure you're getting a good workout.
And how long does that take generally?
How long?
Yeah,
so the 20Ks, it's roughly about 5 hours, but we say 5 hours to finish because we don't know with the different teams that will turn up on the day.
Do you want to mention ponchos? This year we
rain
had
ponchos.
Foul, disgusting, revolting weather, and it seemed that every second team had multicoloured poncho, lightweight poncho things.
Yeah, those
rather
rain
than
ponchos
the
that you buy
jacket.
in the $2 shop, like
Yeah.
you know the little ones that you just pull over. Having one in your pack is great if you get caught out if you haven't got your rain jacket.
Much more lightweight.
It's lightweight. Yeah, you don't need a fancy rain jacket, really. I mean, this is a really lightweight Gore-Tex. It's beautiful. If you were going to use it again, I'd say go for it. But you certainly don't need a really thick, heavy, like Gore-Tex jacket. It gets too hot. If you are going to get a rain jacket, try. I don't know if this one. It's got pit zips, so it has zips under the armpits. So when you start getting hot, you can undo the zips and you at least get a bit of airflow through. Because otherwise what happens is you sweat and you get wet inside anyway. So just try those out. Try the different things. See what works. You could wear this at night to keep warm. Look, coming up onto that headland on the south head, when you get to Vaucluse, if there's a headwind up there, it could be a bit chilly. You never know what the weather's going to throw at you. So even having a lightweight, you could have a lightweight icebreaker or thermal top, either in your pack or with your support crew if you're going to walk through the night. Your body temperature will also, it'll be harder for your body to keep warm over that period and you might get a little chill, so it's good to have something lightweight in your pack. Jenny?
Is this soft liners? Are they, I've never heard of them.
Okay, sock liners. So a sock liner is like a really thin, lightweight sock that you wear underneath your next pair of socks. It can prevent friction, so a lot of people who trek a lot wear them because it prevents blisters. Again, it's something you just got to try out for yourself, and be aware that if you've now got 2 pairs of socks on, your shoe size again is going to be affected unless they're really thin socks. So they have got sock liners here, and they've got the Injinji ones, which are like the glove, so you could have a look at those as well.
I find out when I wear head torch, I sweat a lot and then it keeps slipping down and instead of having a good water.
The question is, with the head torch, when you sweat a lot, it slips down. I sometimes wear a bandana or a buff, and then I put the head torch over it, and it helps it stick. You can't really wear a cap because the peak of the cap gets in the way of the light, and you can't tilt the head torch to be able to see. So if you are going to wear something, wear a headband or a buff, and then put the head torch on top of it. Any other questions?
Just on the track last year, thanks very much for the rain, the track was a mess. Okay, and we found ourselves going left and right all over the track. An experienced walker, do you just walk straight through it? Like, we were so concerned about falling over in the mud or getting wet feet. How do you deal with that?
What, you mean it wasn't a mess because of the rain and trees and yeah.
It was very muddy and slippery, but we were so slow going left and right, trying to avoid everything.
Yeah, look, there's a trick that a lot of trail runners use, and when you train with, I trained with a girl who's an expert trail runner. You always try and go straight, so you don't try and, you know, get off the track, because it just takes longer. As long as it's safe to go ahead, I would aim straight. And again, if you had poles, they would be great, because when it's slippery, they really do help on slippery surfaces.
But that's just going straight through the mud?
Yeah, straight through the mud, yeah, definitely. Look, your feet are going to get wet. If it's a rainy day, there is absolutely nothing you can do about your feet getting wet. You just have to change your socks more, put lots of pawpaw ointment on, okay? If you really wanted, you could put plastic bags over your feet, but other than that, there's not a lot you can do about the rain. If you had cuffs, I didn't show you these, cuffs or gaiters, sometimes you can get waterproof ones. Okay, these aren't waterproof, but they do stop things from running down into your shoe, like a lot of sand or sticks or stones, and you can get waterproof ones. So if it was really bucketing with rain and you had those, it would stop the water running into your shoes. But if you're going to step in a puddle of mud, there's not a lot you can do about it, you know.
Just on those gaiters, I noticed some of the teams last year had reflector strips around the bottom of the gaiters. So they're really good at night for safety issues, obviously, because you can see the feet going along, as well as whatever reflector strip you've got at the back.
Yes.
Safety.
Do you think shorts would be okay at night for walking the night?
Yeah, definitely. I walked the party all night. I walked the 50k night section last November, and I wore exactly what I'm wearing now, and it was good with one change of shoes.
Do people normally do team t-shirts?
Do people normally do team t-shirts? Yeah, definitely. It's good. As long as you find a shirt that you're very comfortable, that all of you are comfortable with, that it doesn't chafe and cut you under the arms. So get one, maybe try it out, and then if you're happy, get them printed up. And yeah, no, it looks great when everyone's got their team gear. I mean, even these are from a little website called dirtygirlgators.com. And you can choose different colours. So our team for 100k, we all had these ones. And they just clip on the front of your shoe, and then you stick a piece of Velcro on the back, and it helps in terms of sand going down your shoes.
I think we're looking at some sort of prize or incentive for the most creative dresses. So
yeah, there is a prize for the best dressed team, so there you go. There's an incentive.
But assume light colours is the best approach to a top.
The question is light colours better than dark? Yeah, I probably wouldn't wear black on Coastrek. Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is that part of the council regulations that we have are that you need to wear, when you're crossing a road or near a road crossing during the day, you need to wear a reflective fluoro vest, or at night time, you should be wearing them at night. So most people carry these, which are just the standard, it's a fluoro vest, but it has got reflector strips on it, okay? These guys, Trek and Travel sell these, which are great. They're running ones, and they've got the reflector strip. They're adjustable, they've got a little strap on the side, and you can probably wear that the whole time because it's breathable, whereas these guys can be fairly hot, and they only seem to sell them in like XXL, and you're drowning in them. So do make sure that you guys decide on what's going to work best for your team in terms of that. But it is really a safety thing. We have very much enforced that. you have a question?
Just with the road crossings, do we have to wait for a green light on the pedestrian crossings?
Definitely.
Definitely no
Yeah,
jaywalking.
you have to wait for a green man, and we will have marshals at the road crossings. It's very few road crossings, to be honest, but where there is, we ask that you obviously respect the normal traffic rules. And the one thing with marshals is that marshals can't direct traffic; they can only direct people. So if one of our volleys asks you not to cross, you need to listen to them, because they're not allowed to physically stop the traffic. They can only assist you guys in crossing safely.
Another one. So can you do like a dummy's guide to feet on the day? Like I know this sounds really dumb, but
Yeah, okay, dummy's guide to feet on the day. Paw, Vaseline, whole foot, back of the Achilles. No, I just use paw, but some people use Vaseline. All the way on the back here, Vaseline. Socks. If you know you've got some hot spots, you could strap them ahead of time. We also have St. John's Ambulance at all the man checkpoints, and they do really good strapping. So if you've got any feet issues, go and visit them when you get to one of the man checkpoints. They will help you strap up any issues you're having. Change your socks if you get any sand, or if your feet get wet, change your socks every 10-15 kilometers if you can. Yeah, and have a little towel in your pack, one of those little like chamois towels, and talcum powder takes sand off. Talcum powder helps sand to come off your feet, so a bit of talcum powder and a towel. You probably have to do it at the end of most of the big beaches. Once you get to Manly, you're pretty good after that. You haven't got any more sandy bits. There's only one sandy section at Clontarf if the tide's low, but other than that, you're pretty good after Manly in terms of beaches. So if I were you at Manly, I'd be putting my nice new pair of socks on and making sure all the sand was off my feet at that point.
Just on that with the shoes, sorry, I know you've crossed over a lot. If you tend to get quite burning feet, like I get a lot of that when I'm jogging, with the treks, the 50k trek, do you think the trek runners are best supportive? Are they?
Yeah, so the question is burning on the feet, the soles of the feet, and what are the best shoes for that? That often comes when you're on a hard surface.
Yeah.
If you're wearing trekking boots and you're on a concrete surface, you can often get that burning sensation because you can't move your feet as well in those kind of shoes. The trail runners have a bit more flexion than a boot, but they've got good grip. You will get some of that on 50 or 100k. Your feet are going to hurt. Okay, yeah. That's one of the challenges, I guess, of getting through to the end. But changing your shoes definitely helps. So wearing your trail runners for 20k's and then maybe your running shoes for 10, and then maybe your trail runners again. I reckon that's the only way to give your feet a bit of a break. Or maybe walk in the water as well, the cold water for a bit. Yeah.
How often would you do that on the big beaches? Would you choose to take your shoes off and do the water and then?
So the question is, do you walk in the water, and how often? I would. Personally, I would take my shoes off on all the long beach sections. Right. Then when I get to the end, I would clean my feet, dry them, put the socks on, the shoes, and then go off again. However, it's a personal choice, and again, sand walking is a very specific thing that you need to practice. Because we wear shoes a lot, our feet are lazy, the muscles in our feet are lazy, and if you suddenly start doing a lot of sand walking, you can pick up issues in your the arch of your foot, plantar fasciitis, different things, tightness through the Achilles. So if you do practice sand walking, just start off small and do lots of stretching. Okay, if you're going to do it barefoot, get your feet used to it. Again, you just build up very slowly. Don't go for a 10k run on the beach from 0 to 100. You know, it's you need to train your body. It's a different surface that you need to get used to.
What sort of shops sell the compression gear, and why are they a benefit?
Well, the question is, where do you get compression gear from, and why are they of benefit? So they help in terms of circulation and recovery through the muscles. So you can buy them online. You can buy them in most of the sports stores. I'd recommend that you try them on, because if they're too loose, they're not going to do anything, and if they're too tight, you're going to get cramp. So you have to make sure you get the right fit for you. I personally find I prefer this because I get too hot in the longs and they keep sliding down, so I find I have to keep pulling up the long pants. But that's just a personal preference again. We do sell on our Wild Women on Top website the CWX brand, which has special taping, which follows the fascia in your body. So for people with ITB issues or lower back, they give quite a lot more support than the average compression garment. And you can have a look at that. You can get, I think you get 15 or 20% off as well on there.
What would be the maximum you would have to, like, length of a training session? If you're doing the 50k,
yeah,
do you have to make sure you've done at least one 50k before? Or?
Yeah, great question. So the question is, if you're training for the 50k, how much, or what's the biggest distance you would do? And it would be roughly around 35-40 kilometers. It's you never do the full distance. So if you're training for 100k, if I'm training for 100k, 60k's is the biggest session I do, and it's probably 3 to 4 weeks out from event day, because it's going to take me maybe 2 weeks to recover from doing that, and I'm going to do a much shorter one in the 2 weeks before and nothing the week before. Okay, so have a look at those training guides because they do give you an idea of that. But for the 50k, you'd be looking at about a 35-40k, and you'd be doing that sometime probably towards the end of January. That's when you'd look to do your big guy. Again, it depends on if you're running or walking. Most people walk Coastrek, so build that in. And any other questions? Don't be afraid. It's an awesome goal to have, okay? And the best thing is to just get out there and start training, because once you get going, you'll love it. I mean, walking is just a great form of exercise, and we're in the most beautiful coastline in the world, and you're going to see places that you never even knew were there, honestly. I mean, some people have lived in Sydney and they walk Coastrek and they just go, oh my word, can you believe it? I mean, just you fall in love with the city again. So yeah, just enjoy the training. That's, you know, the training is all part of the journey. The event day is one day, and you guys have got this whole time to journey together and to get fit and to have a great team experience. Did you say there was one more question?
I thought there was
yeah?
I just want to ask why you don't do close to the full amount to know that you can do it?
Oh, good question. Why don't you do close to the full amount? The science behind it, I don't know. Marathon runners never ever do the full amount unless they're doing an event. And the thing is, you don't want to fatigue your body. The other thing is injury prevention. So doing 50 or 100 kilometers is a huge goal. It's a big thing to do. And if you do 50Ks 1 month out, you may not recover for the next time, or you may pick up an injury from overuse. So that's why we don't do it. We scale it down. And the thing with your training, as I was saying, is train smarter, not harder. So instead of trying to aim for always doing 10-hour sessions, okay, maybe do every second week you do 25Ks, and in between that you do your 2-hour sessions where you're looking for your stairs and your hills and you're keeping your heart rate up. And that's how you improve your fitness. So time on your legs is important for endurance, but if you want to improve your fitness, you've got to do interval training, which is up the stairs fast as you can, slowly recovering on the down, okay? And down is just as important as up, because on Coastrek you guys are going up and down the headlands, you know, up and down, and down builds strength. And you need to work out if you've got knee issues, you've got to strap the knees or use your poles. So all that stuff is really important, but interval training will help you with your cardiovascular fitness the most. So getting to that point where you know, 8 out of 10, I can't do this anymore. You do a set of stairs, by the time you get down to the bottom, you're ready to go again. You've had a recovery, push it again, go again. So make sure you're clever with your training. It's not always about putting in hundreds and thousands of kilometers, okay? So have a look at that, those notes I've given you and the guide that's on the website. It gives you a bit of an indication.
I'm confused by all the different poles. Can you give any recommendations?
Confused about poles. Yeah, the gear thing, you know, you can become obsessed with gear, and I'm not allowed to come to gear shops too often because I have too much of it already. But poles, I recommend having ones with a bit of a shock in them. I use Lecky. They're like the queen of poles, and they're adjustable. So you can adjust them in 2 places. That's a quick adjust that you just clip and lock, and then the second one adjusts down the bottom, and you adjust to suit your height, okay? We also have tried Helinox, which are an Australian brand. They're much cheaper than a lot of the European brands. They're quite lightweight. Okay, but again, you need to try them out. And the thing with walking poles is you've got to be 90 degrees with your arm when you're walking, yeah? So don't have them too high because you'll end up walking with them out there. And if they're too low, you're going to be crouching. Okay, and when you go up hills, you can actually shorten them so you can still get them underneath you to power forward. Okay, if anyone wants to come and have a look, they can check these out. They've got them at the same ones exactly here. Any other questions? Guys, I just want to say one more thing about nutrition because I didn't touch on it, but in terms of recovery, just looking for things when you finish a big training session, making sure that you consume something really healthy within half an hour of finishing that training session. It really helps with recovery. So within half an hour of doing your 25Ks or your 30Ks, go home. I make a smoothie, those young coconuts that you see in the shops. You chop the top off, scoop the flesh out, use the liquid, throw in some spinach leaves, fruit, banana, frozen berries, bit of whey protein powder or egg white protein powder, blend it up and drink that, I promise you. Coconut water is nature's electrolyte mix, and it's got every single thing you could wish for in an electrolyte. I don't know whether you like the taste or not, but when you blend it up with all those things, it's great, and the protein is important as well. So find little things that work for you. That's quite heavy. I wouldn't take that before I train, but I have it at the end of my training sessions to help with recovery.
Lisa, one more thing. We're just building a little Facebook community for Coastrek, so if you've got questions moving forward, comments, funny tales, trick trivia, photos, etc., just like the Facebook page and let's, get the dialogue happening because everybody can benefit then, and then we get lots more likes. And
and you've got lots of support. Honestly, this is Danae. She is our Coastrek project manager, and she works with the councils and national parks and traffic management and all those things that none of us think about when we set off on the trail. But we're there in the office, we're on email, we're on the end of the phone if you've got questions, anything you need to know. You've got the e-book as well. The e-book is a really good guide. It covers everything from your gear to your training, nutrition, tips. And come along in January, as I say, come and train with us. If you've got questions there, you'll have more questions once you get training, and we can support you along the way. But, honestly, go out there, enjoy it. Enjoy exploring Sydney. Take your maps, very important, take the maps. Follow the route and practice where the checkpoints are. Okay, so the maps tell you where the checkpoints are going to be. We've told you up front there's going to be 22 checkpoints over the 100 Ks. Tell you exactly where they're going to be. So have a couple of people on your team who are quite good with maps. Hopefully there's one of you. And who don't mind keeping on the trail. Okay, this is where the checkpoint's going to be. So on the day you don't walk past it. Okay. They're pretty well signposted on the day, but you do need to be aware of where they are, yeah? One more question.
So on the morning, do we actually pick up the sort of maps?
Yep, so on the day you will be given an event day map, and it's likely to be exactly the same as the one that's on the website. However, if there's been any changes with trails being closed or buildings, or we have to account for that on the day, you will be given a map. Lots of teams like to print off and laminate the maps, so they put it on a little carabiner on the side of their pack, and they laminate it so that the map's on one side, the track notes that correspond are on the other, and then they can just flick as they go. And if it rains, that's a really good idea, because otherwise you need to have your map book in a map case, and it's not as easy to keep turning the pages. So lots of people do that, print, laminate, and then flick. Have someone in the team who's keeping track of where you are, so you know, oh, we should be coming to the next checkpoint now. We've got about 2 Ks to the next checkpoint. As you learn the trail, you'll learn how long it takes you to get between places.
The training sessions in January, will you have many people guiding as people who enrol, or will we need to organise ourselves very quickly from just selling out?
The question is about the Coastrek January sessions. There's 30 spots in each session, and they do sell out, and we have 2 coaches. one coach takes the fast group and one the slow, and you stick together as a group, so there's always a tailwind Charlie and no one falls behind. But the aim of them is to show you the route, but for you to learn it too. So it's good to bring your maps, and even though you've got someone you're following, you should be taking account of where you are. But yes, last year the sessions sold out, so they are open for booking now. You can go onto the website and book some spots. They're $69 for a session, and as I say, they're about 5 hours. It depends on how long you take. There's 20 to 25 kilometers of the route. Any other questions? One more?
If you have a team member that you're a bit unsure whether they're going to be ready,
yes.
What are we meant to do?
Okay, a question is, and it's around team management. If you have a team member who you're unsure of they're actually going to be ready to do the event in terms of maybe not being as fit as the rest of you, it's definitely something you need to address early on. You guys need to talk about what your goal is. You need to talk about committing to training. You maybe need to be accountable to each other. Look, I can't make the team session this week. I'm going away, but I'm going to do two-hour stair sessions on my own to make up for it because you guys are walking 25Ks. There are people on the singles board who are ready and waiting to do Coastrek. If you get into a fix and someone's injured, they can't suddenly do it at the last minute, you can look on the singles board. There's people there who are ready to jump into the team. And the team captain can manage the team and easily change people online. So we don't mind if you change people, but your changes need to be pretty much done by the 8th of February when you come to the event briefing. So you want to have your team ready round about then if you can. But certainly communication is important, having similar goals, and everybody needs to pull their weight in terms of committing to a certain amount of training. You're not going to be able to do it all together. I reckon minimum 5 sessions as a full team, and the rest of the time you might be doing it in 2s or 3s, but minimum 5 definitely. If you can do more, it's great as a team. Yeah. Well, good.
What happens on the day if one member falls out?
Question is, on the day if someone pulls out, you have to start as a team of 4. So you have to start as a 4, but a team member can withdraw anywhere along the route as long as you phone in and report it to headquarters. And the other thing is that if you don't cross the line as a team of 4, you can't get an official placing. So you'll still get a time, but you can't be in the top 3, or you can't be the 10th 50K team because you haven't finished as a team of 4. So you still get a time and a certificate, but if you're looking to get a placing, you need to try and get all 4 people over the line. I'll wrap it up now because I can see people are ready to go, and then I'll stay here if anyone's got more questions. But thank you for being here today. I hope you found it useful, and we look forward to seeing you out there on the track.
Thank you.